Mr. MegaManFan, this is Genesis Does, and today we're looking at Arkagis Revolution, which is published by MegaCat Studios. Now, who are MegaCat Studios? Well, from their own press release on their website, it says, "We are an independent video game development studio with a global team. At our core, we are passionate game developers and artists who seek to create a meaningful experience through our games and services. We are all gamers, collectors, and enthusiasts first. We love creating games. From retro cartridges to PC and current generation consoles, we want to make games that are accessible and enjoyable for every gamer." That's an ambitious statement, so I want to see if they can fulfill that promise. And the reason they are getting reviewed this week on Genesis Does is they sent me a press release about 3 new Sega Genesis cartridges that they just released. One called Gluff, one called Yazzle, and one called Arkagis Revolution, which is what you're seeing here. They were offering review copies, physical editions, complete in-box instructions, everything, and I was a little too late for the physical copies, but I got a very nice reply back, and they said, "We're glad you're a fellow retro gamer. You're enthusiastic about Sega Genesis. We can see that from Genesis Does, so we're going to send you some demo ROMs that you can review and talk about on your channel." And this is one of the 3 they sent. Now, here's what their press release said about Arkagis Revolution. Quote, "It is an arcade-style top-down shooter for Sega Genesis / Mega Drive with Mode 7 style rotation." And I think you're seeing that right now from my gameplay footage. "Hop into the ship and save Arkagis with the 68,000 hard on fire. Speedrunners rejoice. We have a unique challenge just for you." So, you can buy this game in a physical edition from MegaCat Studios if you are so inclined. I'm going to look at their store real quick and see how much it is currently selling for. Drop down menu, 16-bit. And let's see. Oh, they've got a lot of stuff. Coffee Crisis, Little Medusa. Actually, this is a fairly sizable studio because I've heard of quite a few of these games, so gonna have to check out more of their products going forward. Let's see. Old Towers, Phantom Gear. Oh, there it is. Arkagis Revolution. Looks like a complete inbox copy is $49.99 before shipping, or you can get cartridge only for $39.99, and you can also get a Mega Drive version or a Mega Drive cartridge only for the same price. So whatever console you have, they will support it. Now, I could have played this through my Analog Mega SG off an SD card, or I could have played it on the original Genesis Model 1 that I have using an EverDrive, but I thought to give you the best quality footage possible, I would play this on my computer and record the footage using OpenEMU and QuickTime. So what you're getting here is the best visual presentation I can give you. I'm going to do the game the best justice I can since I'm demoing their product. Now, the rotation takes some severe getting used to. Use the B button to fire, the A rotates you to the left, and the C rotates you to the right. But I kept periodically forgetting early on which one was the rotation button and which one was the fire button. So sometimes I meant to fire and I rotated, or vice versa. And when you don't really know what direction you're supposed to be going, and you can rotate in any direction in open space, it can really throw you for a loop at times trying to figure it out, to the point where I started just leaving my ship in one orientation and then moving through the levels without rotating. I actually found it helpful to do it that way for a little while. I think if I was going to make a one nitpick about Arkagis Revolution, I would ask for a centering feature of some kind, because I do enjoy the Mode 7 style rotation as they describe it, but when you get askew and the lines of everything around you are also jaggy because you're askew, it would be nice if you could just automatically center yourself up with a button combo. Maybe on the 6-button Genesis controller, one of the top 3 buttons could be set to that. Maybe they don't want to support that since so few people might have that controller. So I can understand. Maybe you could just do it with like down and A or down and C, or maybe down A and C all together. Some sort of key press. Not just because the draggy lines can get distracting at times, but reorienting yourself in the original form that you came into a level would help you to navigate a little better. It could give you a sense of direction instead of feeling like you're completely out there in the wilderness or outer space, as it may be. I will say that the Mode 7 style scaling for a Genesis game is very impressive. It reminds me of Contra 3, the top-down sections where you're maneuvering by rotating left and right, and it very much feels like that. It even feels inspired by that, so my hats off to the developers and coders who made it look this good on a Sega Genesis. I do like the overall feel of the game, the look, the graphics, the soundtrack is serviceable, not spectacular. The level design, also serviceable, not spectacular, but considering this is the opening level of the game, I'm sure that they get more involved and more intriguing as you go along. And I do feel there's a very, how do I say this, if you played Atari 2600 H.E.R.O, it's like that cavern exploration type of game where you progress from one area to the next, find what you need to, take out any obstacles along the way, pick up any items you need. I guess maybe you could also say games like Spelunky are similar to that, but this has the more open aesthetic to it where you have a large degree of space to work in, and your only limitations are figuring out which way to go and what things to tackle, and destroying any obstacles that you want to or feel you need to. Like these barrel type things that you see, you don't have to destroy those, but you can. And these mine things, you should definitely avoid them. You can't destroy them, but they can destroy you, so don't run over them with your ship or they will do some damage. The life bar on the heads-up display is pretty nice. I like that it goes from red at the bottom when you're almost dead to bright green at the top when you're full energy, so it keeps you mindful of how much damage you're taking and how much you need to restore. And I like the fact that you can't pick up the power-ups when you're at full energy. They stay inactive until you actually need them, which is a nice touch. That way you don't waste them by picking them up when you're already at full health. So there are some very thoughtful things in the design of this game that I do give them credit for, even if the controls can be a little bit cumbersome. Another interesting thing about this game is there is some adult language in here. As you just saw when this boss encounter started, the designer of your ship, who is speaking to you over voice communication / video chat, sees that you've triggered an alert for the boss, and she lets out a colorful expletive. I think this is why you never would have seen this on a Sega Genesis back in the day. Remember the AVGN episode where he made such a big deal out of a Super Nintendo game with swearing in it? The infamous Hong Kong 97? Yeah, that generally wasn't done on English versions of 8 and 16-bit Genesis, Mega Drive, whatever you want to call it, NES, Super Nintendo. You didn't find a lot of swearing in video games. Even the word ass was a rarity, as noted by James Rolfe. So, yeah, there's probably a reason that when you go to the Arkagis Revolution page on MegaCat Studios, there is a whole bunch of disclaimers on there. It says, Arkagis is not licensed, sponsored, published, or endorsed by Sega Enterprises Limited, Sega Corporation, Sega Holdings Company, or their affiliates. That's making it pretty clear, but then they even add more than that. MegaCat Studios is an independent game development studio. This title is an unofficial and unlicensed release for the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis console and is not affiliated with Sega Enterprises, Sega Holdings Company. Sega and Sega Mega Drive are trademarks of Sega Holdings Company. You could not possibly be more clear about that. It is abundantly obvious. They don't want you to mistake this as Sega authorized this, Sega printed this, Sega published this. We did this entirely on our own. I don't know why anybody would expect anything different in 2020. The Genesis has been out of print for a long time now, except maybe in Brazil. I think they're still making a Genesis. Tectoy may be licensing it from Sega for production in that market, but if you want a Genesis style console, you're buying something like a Retron or an Analog Mega SG. You aren't buying a Sega Genesis, and even if you are buying something, you're not buying it by going to Walmart, Target, Best Buy, whatever. You're buying it online, or you're going to a retro game store. You're not just walking into a brick and mortar retailer and picking up a Sega Genesis off the shelf and a copy of Arkagis Revolution off the hanging rack next to it. That would be interesting if you could, though. Wouldn't that be interesting times if you could walk into a store today and see Sega Genesis consoles on the shelf and games on hooks with those hanging tabs? That would be fun. It would be like old times that we haven't seen for a long time. Now, the only way I could effectively beat this boss in the demo version was to develop a strafing technique where I kept constantly moving backwards and rotating counterclockwise and then just spraying it with bullets as I went by. If I tried to just back up and circle around, it would always take me out before I could do enough damage to it. And if you don't pick up the power-up before this boss battle, it's impossible because your shots don't do enough damage. So in the room before the boss fight, be absolutely sure that you pick up the power-up. And whether you go clockwise or counterclockwise, you just want to rotate and strafe, rotate and strafe. It's possible this could make you a little nauseous because the rotation is as smooth as they can make it on Sega Genesis or 16-bit systems, but it's not perfect. You're gonna get a little bit disoriented trying to do this, and I understand, but make the best of it and continue the fight, and you can eventually win. It just takes a whole lot of shots. There's one other thing that I would be critical of about Arkagis Revolution. It's that there is no boss health meter. You've got a health meter that shows you how you're doing, but you don't get one that shows you how your opponent is doing. So I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Those are my thoughts on Arkagis Revolution, and now some closing footage.
Shit! This is Len, awaiting. This is Len, awaiting. There's no signal?